With the bakery, I have found a good rhythm for my life. From the beginning, our goal was never to get rich, it was to create this peaceful life where we could be mothers, present mothers, and also make some money for our families. So really just finding tasks and processes that bring you joy, because it's not necessarily a bad thing to be busy if you're getting joy from it, but it's just finding where's the line.
My name is Lisa, mother of 8 and creator of the blog and YouTube channel Farmhouse on Boone. On this podcast, I like to talk about simplifying your life so you can live out your priorities. I help you learn how to cook from scratch and decorate on a budget through this podcast and my courses, Simple Sourdough and the Simple Sewing series. I also help people reach their goals from home through my business course, YouTube Success Academy. I will leave links to these resources in the show notes and description box below. Now let's get into the show. Welcome back to the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. As we try to live a simple life, for some of us, that is doing a business or industry at home. And I had on last year at some point, Lillian Hutchins of the Flour Barn Bakery. And she shared her experience with starting a successful micro bakery in her small town. And she's had it for 5 years now, alongside her sister, and many other members of the family have now joined in this business. And I think she has so much wisdom to share as an entrepreneur and doing that in a smart way, but also in a balanced way that is different from what you see today in hustle culture, where it's always like more, go, go, go. A lot of us, have been kind of exposed to the lies of that over the last couple years. But still, wanting to start a business and being faced with a lot of, after some success is built up, opportunity, and figuring out how to navigate that, but still leading a simple home-based life. She has a lot of wisdom to share on that and her experience for the last 5 years. So even if you're not interested in starting a micro bakery or a business, it's a fun conversation, and we're going to talk about some really great tips when it comes to baking with whole grains and converting regular recipes to whole grains. She has some tips that I hadn't thought of before that I think are excellent. So join us now for the interview. All right. Well, Lillian, welcome back on. We had you on maybe a year ago. I don't know. I'm just making that up. Something like that.
Yeah.
To talk about your micro bakery. And today I thought we'll talk more about work-life balance and how you handle having a lot of opportunities, but also having a home and children. I think that's something that everybody to some degree has to wrestle with, even if you don't have some kind of business you're doing. The opportunity to have a business is there for literally everyone just because of the internet. Like whether or not you are wanting to start some kind of content business like I have, or you're going to physically bake bread and sell it like you have, there's a way for everyone to market something these days. And I think that can be exciting and a lot of opportunity, but also overwhelming, especially if you're trying to live a simple, intentional life. So let's start first. Just introduce yourself and then we can dive in.
Yeah. So I'm Lily. I'm the co-owner of the Flour Barn Bakery. It's a little bakery on a barn on our family farm. It's near kind of Columbus, Ohio area. And we have open hours on Fridays and Saturdays, 8 to 11. And then on top of that, every week we teach a class. So that varies from cooking classes, baking classes, to homesteading classes. And then to kind of coincide with our classes, we have also started a blog and a YouTube channel, and then we're active on social media. So we've kind of tried to dip our feet into every aspect of the micro bakery world. But yeah, I do this with my sister who was with me last time. She's actually as far along as you are pregnancy wise.
Okay.
She gets so out of breath.
Yes, I know. Forrest has to constantly edit that out. When I'm doing my solo episodes, I'm always like, hold on a second. Because I talk too much. And so I can't get a opportunity to breathe. Whereas when I'm talking to you, you give me opportunities to breathe when you talk. And so all my solo episodes are like constantly, I'm like, hold on a second. I gotta breathe for a minute here.
She said, she's like, I had to explain to my son that I'm sighing because of pregnancy, not because I'm like upset with him all the time. She's like, I'm sighing because trying to catch my breath. I'm not just like walking around sighing all day. But
yeah. It's a thing.
So but I run this business with my sister and my dad, and then we now have 2 full-time employees, which is actually one of my other sisters and my cousin. So yeah, lots
Family
of change.
business.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years, so lots, has grown.
Okay, so you are in all the things. Like you have a physical store that you stock, and then you have a YouTube channel, you have a blog, and you're on social media. So everyone wants to know how you balance all of that and still have a home life where there's just simple days where, like I have days where I bake bagels and I don't film it, like that happens most days.
It's a luxury.
Actually,
You're like, I'm going to go crazy and not film this.
Well, and it's so funny too, because once you break into that and you have that as part of your life, which it's such a great opportunity, and it does mean that you can earn money without leaving your home, and it fits very seamlessly. But it's funny because once you are used to that, anytime that you're not filming it, like you're like, when did I think just this was hard?
I know,
like,
and
how
you
about
feel like,
filming it?
Am I wasting this? Am I wasting making bagels if I'm not filming it? Like it puts
that
in
was
your
a
head.
struggle. I feel like before I had some like defined goals and boundaries. So like I have a certain number of YouTube videos I do a week, and I have a certain number of podcasts I do. And beyond that, it's like, well, I already did my work. Like I can just, spend time and that's most of the time. Like I'm not filming most of the things I do, because ultimately on the internet ends up 20 minutes curated of my life throughout a week, and then 1 hour of just me sitting here talking. And so it ends up that most of the time I'm doing things without filming it. But setting up those boundaries. And I'm sure you had a time, I think we talked about this on the last episode that you did with me, but like at first, maybe you push too hard.
Yeah.
And then that maybe is why you set up some boundaries.
Yeah. And I'm definitely still learning with like YouTube and all of that. That's very new to me. So I think I'm still trying to find my boundaries there. But definitely with the bakery, I have found a good rhythm for my life. From the beginning, our goal was never to get rich. It was to create this peaceful life where we could be mothers, present mothers, and also make some money for our families. So really just finding tasks and processes that bring you joy, because it's not necessarily a bad thing to be busy if you're getting joy from it, but it's just finding like, where's the line drawing. And it's hard to say because everyone's business can look so different. But like in the beginning, we were really giving all of our free time to the business to help it to grow. Whereas once we became more established, you're able to kind of create more of a schedule.
Yes. Yeah. So I agree with you that in the beginning of starting a business, I think there's going to be some level of not having balance. Like unless you come in with tons of money, you can right away hire a staff, which really, even if you did, your brain has to go into orchestrating that so that it actually stays successful. You can't just be like, just make me something cool. Just everybody get busy. Like that's not how that works. So there's going to be a time like that. And I agree with you that you get to a point in your business where if you are clear about what the goal was, and you don't just take every opportunity that comes your way, because the more success you have, the more opportunities do come your way. And that can be hard at first to really navigate. So have you had opportunities, even when you know that they'd be profitable, that you've had to turn away? And how do you decide which ones to do?
I am such a feelings-based person. So like I feel like when I start to get like a little overwhelmed, even if I'm excited about something, but I'm like, that seems like it's going to take my mind completely if I devote myself to that. And that's really what I care about, is like physical labor is not as stressful to me as like when something is always on my mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Physical labor in some ways is like the easy work.
Yeah.
I think we all know that deep down.
Yeah.
Because that like I have tasks in my business that are like the ones I always want to do. And it's always because there's less brain,
Yes, exactly.
you know? And then there's the ones that like really move the needle, and they're the ones that are sitting here, like you're just sitting, but they're brain.
Yeah.
Right.
Even I think what really stresses people out, like with bulk baking for their micro bakery, is just figuring out a process that makes things simple. Like that's been the hardest part. Doing the actual steps to create all our cinnamon rolls is not the hard part, but getting to the point where we established those actual processes was definitely the part that took a lot of thought and took a lot of, bad days to figure out like that definitely didn't work. Like we need to figure out a better way to do this. Like we'd have these 107-ounce balls of dough, and me and Ellen would both get a rolling pin and we would like roll our rollouts together, like the two of us. And then we would make our cinnamon rolls, and then we would like hand roll the cinnamon rolls together, like before the sheeter. And now we have a sheeter, and like it literally, just changed our process. But even knowing like you don't need two people to roll out a rollout, like it was definitely better off to do that alone. But yeah, just figuring out those things, even though it does take, thought and
well, I think so many people, and I've witnessed this in real life businesses. It's when you really come down to it, it probably took you like a couple of days or hours to really think through it. But so many times, because that is the hard work, businesses will operate for 30 years doing things the hard way just to avoid 2 or 3 days of stopping and thinking and strategizing.
Yeah.
I've seen it. And it's just interesting because you'll work double hard physically just to avoid having to strategize.
Well, even like specifically cost analysis, like if my dad wasn't involved in the business, I think I would have avoided analyzing any of our products ever.
Oh yeah, it sounds like me. Yep.
Yeah. But then he gets involved and he's like, we have to do this. And once you do it, he was like, if we just change this one thing, or if it takes us 10 minutes less to do this rollout, like we'll be at a much better place profit wise. And that, can make a huge difference. So
yeah. I'm so guilty of this. There's so many things in the business that I'm like, I'd rather just work double hard than have to stop and think about anything. Because also it's the kind of work when you get done with it, you don't feel really satisfied. Like that's my problem is I have these work blocks in my day. And I really like to, when those are done, have like, okay, I filmed this video. I took this thumbnail image. I recorded this podcast. I wrote this blog post. I like those metrics. When I look back and think, I sat there and I thought, like, I don't like that feeling afterwards, even though when I really look back at the last 10 years of having a business, those are the times when the most profit ended up being made. But
yeah, the best changes happened.
Yes.
I think it's what's really exciting though, because we can talk about like, cost analysis and it in that being stressful. But the truth is it's a great time for micro bakers. Like there are stressful parts to it that you have to think through. But I really think that people are so like hungry,
literally, and
hungry in 2 ways. They're hungry to make a connection with a local baker. They're looking for local bakers. So even if you just get started with a good product and good intentions for your community, the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
There's just so many opportunities for people who love to bake right now. And so I don't want it to sound like, there's too stressful. But once you start to grow and you see that exciting growth, you do want to step back and be like, am I doing everything to make the most profit? Am I doing the smart things? Am I pricing my products correctly? And through our blog and our videos, I try to give people the things I've had to learn the hard way, the things I've had to think about and sort through. I try to give them those
like a blueprint.
But sometimes I don't even know like what did change things so much. Sometimes you're not even sure. It just continued to grow. But
it can vary based on a lot of factors. So I think that sometimes people have to carve their own way. And I do think people get that analysis paralysis where if they hear this, they think, okay, so don't start until I've got it all figured out. No, I think you probably start and then analyze it a little bit later.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister was just saying, she's like, what Lisa always says? It was like, stop consuming and start producing. Do you say that?
I think a lot of people say it, but I agree with it. So I've probably spouted it off too.
Yeah. And in terms of like content online, you can get a lot of ideas and they switch from being ideas to almost being like, if I don't do it that way, then I'm not doing it the right way. So like, while it's nice to have social media to be like, oh, that's such a good idea, this is so smart, it can also paralyze you in thinking that if I don't have all the things that person does, if I don't have the life that person does, then it's not possible for me to have the profits that that person does. But like, I would definitely say like, be happy to grab ideas from other people. But then you also have to look at your life and think, what works best for my life? And how do I make this business an enjoyable one for me? And one that I can keep enjoying for years and years to come.
Yes,
because
sustainable.
if it's a successful business, yeah, it'll be around for a while and you want to love it. And I personally love my business. Like, I find new things each year that I love about it. And even as we continue to grow, like I've just found like new parts of myself. Like I used to never, I would have thought like talking to new people was very stressful. I was very like shy in high school. Like talking to lots of people would make me nervous. And now like every Saturday, I'm so excited for our customers to come in and like get to see new customers and talk with the regulars. And like, I'm not even just trying to be cheesy and advertise. Like I truly enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah, enjoy it.
So I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah. Well, and we were talking earlier, like you were saying that when you have a YouTube channel, at least at first, having that thought of, oh, am I wasting something if I'm not filming it for Instagram or YouTube? But you mentioned having a business that you'll love for years to come.
Yeah.
And that sustainability aspect of it is why you don't film everything. Because if you do, you will burn out and you will just quit.
Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit about that. Creating a sustainable business. You are only open 2 days a week. So I'm sure that there's a reason for that. You want this family life balance, and I'm sure you could make a lot more money because I'm sure you're selling out. So you could make more money if you were open more days, but you've chosen not to. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So in the beginning, the reason we actually used to just be open on Saturday. So we weren't even open on Friday in the beginning. And that was really because this was created to be our mom job. We wanted to have a flexible schedule during the week where we could put all of that effort into creating the baked goods. We wanted high quality from scratch baked goods. We wanted to make all of our butter blocks, all of our doughs from scratch, all of our fillings. But all of that takes a lot of time. Everything takes time. Glazes make time. Filling, little things that you're like, oh, I'll just whip that up later. They all take time. So if you have a flexible schedule during the week to take time out when you have the time to prep, then by the time Saturday comes, you can bake everything fresh and have high quality stuff to glaze it with, to fill it with. And so that's why in the beginning, we were just open on Saturday, because as moms, it just was what worked for us. It's what we could do. It's what we knew we could sustain. So that's why we did it. And then doing it, we found that actually it was very profitable for us. Our community saw it as like an event each weekend. And that's kind of how we're preparing for it. Like we're catering this event that our community gets to come to. But, regular bakeries, their most profitable days are on the weekends. So being open just for that profitable day has really been a really great thing for us. And then also,
makes sense. Yeah.
I think when, let's say you have a local bakery in your town and you keep thinking, oh, I want to go there someday. Well, if they're only open on Saturday and Saturday comes, you're kind of like, well, I'm either going to go today or I'm not going to be able to go for the rest of the week. So I do think
the scarcity.
I do think it helps people be like, oh, yeah, they're only open. So I should put that in my calendar for Saturday. So in the beginning, it was just so that we could provide high quality and high quantity products as moms. But now it's really just really worked out for us in ways we didn't expect.
Yeah. Well, I think that sometimes happens too, because I've had these thoughts with my business throughout the year. Like, man, if I spent more time working on this, like I'm sure it would be double, triple profitable. But then over the long haul, it seems like just the consistent, even though not like fast-paced effort has actually paid off in ways that I didn't even expect.
Yeah, because we're we're not paying employees to, run the case during the week. Like we have employees in there, but we're not, paying someone to just stand at the cash register for maybe a few customers.
Right.
And we're also not wasting product, because I wouldn't want to be open on Wednesday and then only make like 5 muffins. And then let's say all these people come. Like, so you always have to make enough in case you're busy. So there's definitely benefits, but in the beginning it was just, we wanted it to feel like a Parisian bakery where you get to go in and the case is packed full of really good stuff. And the only way we could handle doing that was if we devoted our whole week to prepping. So I think a lot of people think like, oh, you only work Friday and Saturday. I'm like, no, there's so much being done. There's so much being done. It's just happening behind the scenes.
When Luke and I were first married 17 years ago, we were on a super tight budget, and the only way that I could decorate my home and make it my own cozy space was by doing a lot of DIY and sewing. I've shared that for years on my YouTube channel, on this podcast, on my blog, and recently I put all of those resources together, all of the patterns, the tutorials, and then step-by-step instructions from getting a machine and threading it, learning about tension issues in the bobbin, all those things maybe over the years that have scared you away from sewing, into one course that I've called the Simple Sewing Series. If you've wanted to sew but have been intimidated by the process of getting started, or even if you're a more seasoned seamstress or sewist and you want to improve your skills, I really think that this will be a great resource for you. There's also a private community associated with it, so if you have sewing questions or you're excited to meet other people who are also getting started on their sewing journey, that's available with the course as well, and it's for a very affordable price. You can find my new course and all of the resources that go along with it over at bit.ly/simple sewing course. That's bit.ly/simple sewing course, all lowercase. That's where you can find more info and become a student. I think last time we talked a little bit about your schedule and how you fit it in throughout the week as a mom.
Yeah.
But now you have more employees, I believe, than last time.
Yeah.
So how does it look just on a weekly basis now that you are where you are? I know you've had your micro bakery for several years now.
It's been 5 years. Yeah.
5 years.
Crazy.
So we're going to talk about people getting started and how they could do something similar to you, but also you have to remember that you're 5 years in.
5 years
and so you
in,
have some things established that you're not going to have right away.
Yeah.
But what does it look like now in your current season?
Yeah. So I've started doing these week in the life videos, which you probably feel this way when you look at your videos. I'm always like, wow, so much happened during this week. I never thought about all that happened in a week until I started filming, and I'm like, man, this is a lot of stuff.
I know. Yeah, I do that. Like I'll do like a day in the life homemaking video, and I don't film half the stuff because I'm like, they're gonna, people will say things like, do you ever sit down? I'm like, well, this is only a 20-minute video, and I do, but I also, yes, it's a lot of work. Like it truly is. So I just don't even film half of it. Like if I do the dishes 4 times, I just film it once, but yeah.
It's too, I don't film everything either, because I'm like, that's just going to get, also a lot of stuff is repetitive. I'm like, people don't want to watch me roll 100 rolls of cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, right. Like you can show yourself doing a couple, and then that's kind of, well, we got it. We got it.
Yeah. So Sunday, obviously we don't work. We're going to church and stuff. And then Monday, I always kind of treat it like a Saturday, because we don't really get our Saturdays. So like Sunday, Monday is kind of like our weekend.
Okay.
But my dad does go to a bulk restaurant store, and he gets like bulk supplies. So he'll go there. So on Mondays, it's kind of like grocery day for him.
Okay.
And then every Tuesday evening is our classes. So depending on the week, depends who's teaching it. But me, Ellen, and my mom are the primary teachers. So last week was artisan sourdough. So we had our artisan sourdough class Tuesday night. Sometimes it's the art of brioche, which is our cinnamon roll class, where we make cinnamon rolls and brioche bread. And then we actually just did a milling your own grains class for the first time, which was so fun.
So much interest in that right now. Just way more than there was a year ago.
I know, which my mom always milled grains. And so I didn't think of it as that strange of a thing. Right. And then it really blew up. And now I'm like, oh, wow, people really care about milling grains now.
Yeah. So now a thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun thing that we had our foot in the door a little bit, before.
Yeah.
But so that's Tuesdays. And then Wednesday is like dough day. So focaccia dough, brioche dough, sourdough, and croissant dough is all made on Wednesday.
Okay.
Which is really crazy to
like
watch.
You and your sister both like in your own homes or?
No. So in our barn is the commercial kitchen.
That's right. We talked about this last time. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I think some people get that a little confused.
Yeah.
That is a little different. Yeah. So we have a barn, and in it is where we bake everything, where we prep everything, where we teach everything, and where we open. It just gets rearranged for whatever we're doing at the moment. So on dough day, 2 people are usually there. So whether it's me and Lizzie, which is my cousin, or Paige and Lizzie, we have 2 people in the bakery on Wednesdays, and they're prepping dough.
Okay. Are you bringing kids with you, or is that like your big work day? Like, it sounds like that's probably like the biggest day of the week.
No. I would say the next day is the biggest day, which is the day that usually I work is Thursdays. But if I do come in on Wednesday, it's usually for like a 2-hour period just to help out with stuff. And I'll drop my kids off either at my sister's house, Ellen, who lives on the property, or my mom's house, who also lives on the property. So I mentioned that they just built. So now there's 2 places on the property, which makes it nice that our kids can go to one of those places.
That is nice.
So yeah, Wednesday, all the dough. And then on Thursday, which is usually the day I work, I take my kids and they stay at my mom's house, and we laminate all of our croissants and danishes, which means, that's when you get the butter block, you encase it with dough, you run it through the sheeter, and you make all those folds of butter. So like similar to puff pastry, but croissant is yeasted and danishes are yeasted dough. So they're like, puffy and flaky.
I still want that sheeter
on Thursday.
I'm like, I was sold on it last time and I never did get it. And I'm like, I still want that sheeter.
Well,
sounds amazing.
So I've been really trying to find a at-home sheeter, because I get a lot of people asking me, people who bake at home, like, where'd you get your sheeter? And you can't really have a commercial sheeter if you are in the home.
Right. Okay.
But I've been trying to find some home sheeters. I don't want to recommend any yet because I haven't really gotten my hands on them.
Okay.
And they are quite an investment. But I did talk to a home baker yesterday. I actually reached out to her because she does really good lamination. It's homemade period by period Kate.
Okay.
And she does great pan of chocolate. And she told me she does a laminating method where you don't have a butter block. You instead put butter directly on and do the folds like that.
Okay.
But her croissants look amazing. So if you're a home baker wanting to laminate, I would look into that method, and I'll try to find it. And
send it to you. If you do, we'll link it below.
Yeah, I should have had that. I just forgot. But that's a really great way to get into laminating. And this baker that I talked to, Kate, she's had great success with offering laminated goods, because that's really something lots of people don't want to make at home.
Oh yeah. It's the one thing, like, I love it, but like I can get like bread and bagels on the table, like no problem. But like croissants and danishes, I love them. Like when we go to the farmer's market, there's a sourdough booth there, and I always get something laminated because it's just so much harder to make at home.
Yeah, you gotta come. You gotta come to our bakery.
I know. I do need to come to your bakery.
I know. I want you to. Because that's my favorite. Like, before we started, I dreamed of being able to make croissants, and I thought it'll never happen. And now every weekend I go in and there's like fresh made croissants.
Yes.
This is my dream life. I know I'm getting distracted. I'm trying to think of what our question was.
Okay, you were talking about Thursday is your like big work day. So like you're on mom duty pretty much Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You work Thursday, and then that's the day that you do all of your lamination
and then rolling. We do a lot of cinnamon rolls, probably like 15 pans. And
is that your most popular thing?
Yes, it's one of our most popular things.
Okay.
I'd say our most popular items are jumbo cinnamon rolls, cream filled croissants, danishes, and then focaccia breakfast sandwiches are a really big one. Yeah, so we make focaccia and then we cut it up and split it in half and then fill it with like an egg souffle, bacon, cheese, and an aioli. And then we have
Okay.
another one that's like a sugared sweet focaccia filled with egg souffle, sausage, and a maple butter and
Oh
cheese.
my word.
So
So do
good.
people buy this cold and then they
No.
heat it? No.
Yeah. So that's what we like the most about them is we have a proofer, a commercial proofer. Do you know what that is? Like,
Yeah, I can imagine it keeps it at like what, 100, around 100 degrees or something,
it
or
keeps it warm and humid. There's like a
okay.
humidifier in there too. And then we actually can switch it to heating setting. So we proof all our baked goods in the morning, we bake them, and then we switch it to heating setting, which doesn't have any of the humidity. And then we wrap all of our sandwiches in tin foil and we stick them in the heater. And so when you get it, it's like melty and
It's already
warm.
warm. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I think last time we talked about your model for figuring out how much to bring. Because as you're
Yeah.
talking about this, I'm like, well, how many breakfast sandwiches do you bring?
Yeah.
Because some people might have family in town and want to get several and sometimes maybe none. And so I'm curious how that works.
Yeah. So we have a pre-order system. And I know a lot of home bakers operate only on a pre-order system because maybe you don't have a brick and mortar shop. You want people to come to your porch and pick up or your farm stand. So pre-ordering is great. And I know there's a service called Hot Plate that a lot
Okay.
of home bakers use. I know Kate that I mentioned before, she said she really likes it. I use Square. We are on a bigger scale. Like I have a checkout line every week, so Square does provide me with like a modem for checking out and all that. So that's why we use Square. But I know for smaller micro bakeries or home bakeries, they say Hot Plate is great. So if you wanted to check that out, um, but our pre-order system is what we use to kind of gauge uh, what kind of amount of people we're going to
Like
get.
demand you'll have.
Yeah.
And it changes week to week. I mean, I'm sure it does a little bit, but pretty consistent, I'd say.
Yeah, like for holidays especially. So now we kind of have an idea how many people, but definitely in the beginning. Like if we got a lot of cinnamon rolls, like let's say we got, 50 orders for cinnamon rolls, and that's for a box. So 50 orders of a 4-pack of cinnamon rolls. We knew that 50 people would be going through our line no matter what, even if no one else came. So you want to make product that could, fill 50 people's boxes. Now we have a pretty consistent amount, but like 4th of July this year, we were getting a ton of pre-orders. So we suspected we were going to have a big day and we ended up just having a huge crowd.
Okay. What do people get on 4th of July? Like I'm trying to think of why people would get more baked
I
goods
know.
on 4th
See,
of July.
that's the thing. You're always trying to be like, oh, for
Trying to
Easter,
figure it
people
all
want
out.
this. But the truth is on holidays, it doesn't matter what holiday. If family's coming in or if people are getting together, they just want to have something to bring, like to the potluck or, like they'll get a dozen cookies or.
Yeah. I mean, I went to two
Yeah.
4th of July parties, so I guess you need something to bring for those.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
Or you don't want to cook, like because it's a holiday and you want to treat yourself. So you just go and you get breakfast for your family.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's just stuff like that. So it's not
And
even.
it actually fell on a day you were open. Like it was actual
Yes.
4th of July on a Friday, which probably makes a big difference.
Yeah, no, that's exactly why. Because Fridays are new hours for us. We've had them for about, I don't know, maybe a year. We just added them because we're there anyway prepping. So we just kind of opened our doors and said, oh, we'll make coffee and put out what is already ready. Like we bake some cinnamon rolls for that day, bake some Danish, and then brownies and stuff like that. But then that Friday was just crazy, which luckily we had prepared for it because our pre-orders told us, like, you're probably going to have a busier day. So we made a lot, but we still ended up selling out. We ended up having to pull from items for Saturday and then remake everything that day for Saturday. So that was a specifically crazy holiday.
Wow, yeah, that was. So do you always make more than the pre-orders, assuming you'll have lots of people who don't pre-order?
Yeah. No, so we double it, at least, more than double it now.
Okay.
Like we know probably 20% of people are going to pre-order. Like we might have 10 boxes of cinnamon rolls, but we'll make, I don't even know. I know everything by pans, and I'm like, I don't know if I count them.
Oh, how many pans is
yeah. I know we do like 15 pans of rolls, and there's like 36 rolls per pan. So I'm not going to get into math, but it's a lot of rolls.
It's a lot of rolls.
Yeah, like we do a lot of product on for those days.
I bet you do. And what's how far do people come? Like if somebody wanted to start something like this and they think, okay, I live in a small town, which I know you don't really, you live close to a large city. Like how far are you from actual Columbus?
Like 45 minutes.
Oh,
but then we also,
so you're not really
yeah,
that
we
close
also
to it.
we live near, I would consider it like a small town, like small town America, sort of small town where
Yeah.
it's like growing. There's people that live there. There's other businesses there, but it's not a city.
Okay.
So we're lucky in that we live by a pretty big community, and also it's growing pretty quickly.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know, like, if I could find like what would be comparable here to gauge where you are, but that's basically impossible.
Yeah, but we get a lot of like there's Columbus, and then there's little cities like Dublin, Hilliard. Those areas are near it, and we get a lot of people from there too. So people drive. I'd say most of our customers drive like a half an hour,
Okay.
Or more. But like people who live we also get a lot of people from like rural
Yeah.
areas around us too. So it's a good combination of like locals who live within 10 minutes, and then also people who are coming out for like a special trip.
Yes.
You know?
So when you started this, did you fear that living in a small town, you weren't going to have enough orders? Or did you figure that people would come from all over to get your stuff?
No, definitely didn't think that. I think if someone was like if I went to an investor in the beginning and said like, I'm going to open a bakery in a barn on my family farm outside of town, they'd be like,
that's really
no
cute.
No, I think they'd be like, nobody's going to come out to a barn to buy baked goods. But
yeah.
But it's, I mean, it's not like a barn. You know, like animals never lived in there. Like when it was built, it was created to have a commercial kitchen in it. So,
okay.
But we were worried definitely that we weren't going to get people who wanted to drive out to us. And so in the beginning, it was really just pre-order. So we just offered cinnamon rolls, and we kind of just thought of it as like a porch pickup where people could come and get their stuff. And honestly, that's a great business model. People, I mean, if you sell 30 boxes of cinnamon rolls, that's a good profit. Like if each week you just sold 30 boxes, that would be great. But when we did our first pop-up sale, which was when we made extra product and offered it to the public and advertised it, we were just shocked by how many people came. And
yes. And we talked about this a ton last time, but people are looking for something to do. We have a couple things that I can think of kind of cutesy. And when I say in my area, I mean like within like a 45-minute radius. Like I don't mean like down the street. And the crowds there, because they'll do like a Christmas market, and then they'll do like a spring, I don't know, they do these little things. And like when they announce something like that, you just realize how many ladies specifically are just looking for like a cute little place to go and get a coffee and like some baked goods. Like we're at that point in history where that is like something we need. And there's just really not many available.
I think a lot of bakers, like there's obviously people who are doing the porch pickups and starting those businesses, but I think a lot of people are intimidated by starting something, you know, especially with like high-end baked goods. I think they're like, oh, people are going to judge me. They're going to think I'm trying to, you know, make these fancy pastries, and I'm just a baker from home. Like, how could I ever make bakery-worthy baked goods? But like every bakery started from a home baker. Like croissants in the beginning were made by loving people who wanted to create this beautiful flaky pastry for their community. But now it almost has this connotation of being kind of like a pretentious baked good. Like it's too fancy for the common baker to make. Like just, I guess, be willing to just try things and make things that excite your community, and don't be worried that people are going to be like, well, what do you know about baked goods? Like if you have the good intentions of like, I want to create something special that tastes amazing for my community, I just think you're in the right path. You're going in the right direction. And to not be afraid of like, just because the most famous bakers make it doesn't mean you can't also make it in your own home.
Yeah. And then you mentioned something about like people thinking, I don't know if you meant this, but like it's a premium product, yes. Right? Like it's not like a loaf of bread from the store, like bunny bread or whatever. I think when I say bunny bread, people are always like, what's that? So I think it must be regional. But anyways, just like $1, you know, sliced bread from the store. And were you at all self-conscious in the beginning about saying, okay, this is $10 for a bowl? I don't really know what you
Yeah.
charge, but I've seen sourdough bread in my area, and it's, you know, with the work that goes into all these logistics, any business owner, like one of the main things I see new business owners doing is not valuing their time
Yes. Very
appropriately and
true.
just being like, I just want to make money.
Yes.
And then you're like, well, you're really not making money. You could have got a
Yes.
job for better than
Yeah.
that.
Especially with sourdough. You know, um, I talk a lot about items that are good to sell because obviously my business is selling certain product. Um, and a lot of people who do sourdough, I think, focus a lot on the sourdough loaves, which even selling sourdough for $10 a loaf, that's one product that's $10. That's one maybe cast iron. Maybe that's 3 cast
Yeah,
irons
it's
in an oven. You know, when you make
true.
cinnamon rolls, you maybe can fit 36 in one oven and sell them for $5 a cinnamon roll. Like, you
Oh,
got to
that's
think about
true.
your oven loads. And so even if you're
Yeah.
pricing your sourdough accordingly, which yes, is around $10 a loaf, which to me I'm like, yeah, that's a good amount, but you want your profit margins to be like, profit margins don't just include what ingredients, they also include your time. And for a lot of sourdough
Yes.
bakers doing it in bulk, even though it's easy maybe to do sourdough and work it into your home life, to do it in bulk, it's very time sensitive. Like, you have to be able to not
Mm-hmm.
overproof it. You got to have space for the bowls to sit in the fridge. It's just,
Right,
I would
right.
recommend to anyone who's wanting to do a sourdough based bakery, definitely do your sourdough loaves, but make sure to have other products for your customers like cinnamon rolls, cookies, brownies, items that you can make easily in bulk and that maybe make a little bit more per item. And that's really going to be what gives you good profit. So people are looking for sourdough bread right now. It's almost a marketing tool to offer sourdough bread. People see sourdough bread and they'll come to your bakery. So definitely offer the sourdough bread, but make sure you have plenty of other product because once they come to you, they're probably going to buy something else. So make sure that you have good, high quality other items, and that's really what's going to make you a good amount of money and make your business sustainable.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't thought about like your oven capacity and just thinking,
Yes,
okay, this makes $60 out of my oven. This makes $30 out
I
of my oven.
know. Yeah,
So with all that in mind, how did you come up with the menu that you have today? I'm sure there's lots of things you put on it and then you're like, nope, that's not worth it.
yeah.
And then there's
Mhm.
things that you've added that have been like, oh, well, that was the way to go.
Yeah, yeah. One I always talk about is like cookies. So cookies maybe don't sell great, just a plain cookie or even a jumbo size cookie. They sell okay. But as soon as we put buttercream in between two cookies and sold it, like all of a sudden it goes from being something you can make at home to being like a decadent bakery item. Or even taking
Mm-hmm.
like a standard size muffin and going from standard size to jumbo. You've taken an item that looks maybe pretty typical you can get from the grocery and turned it into
Right.
something decadent. So, um,
Yes.
and then other things like cinnamon rolls, they just were received really well from the community. And so we went with it. You know, people love our cinnamon
People love
rolls.
cinnamon
They
rolls.
do.
Yeah.
And why are we surprised? Like, I always see
Yeah.
people on
Yeah.
Facebook groups like, people are crazily buying my cinnamon rolls. I'm like, yeah, people love cinnamon rolls.
Yeah,
Devote
this is a
yourself
tried
to
and true
cinnamon
method.
rolls.
If you're going to start, just start with cinnamon rolls because everybody apparently
Yeah.
loves them.
Hey, but there's a lot to them. You know, you gotta look. You wanna make sure you're selling high quality products. You know, I don't suggest just like going with the first recipe you try. Definitely like try different methods, try different icings, and make sure that you should always be trying to make the best cinnamon roll anyone's ever had. That's what I would suggest. And that'll
True.
just put
Yeah,
you
it's
on the
got to
right
be
path.
good.
Yeah, because I think there's enough business out there like to not be don't be afraid if another baker enters your community. I think there's enough people who are looking for baked goods, but the real way that you'll thrive is if you're really trying to be the best baker you can be and put out the best product. And I don't know, I get a lot of joy from like I really enjoy eating all of our items. And when people come through the line and pick something, I'm always just like, oh, I think they're gonna enjoy that so much. And that's like what I look forward to. And I try to feel that way about or I do feel that way about each item. So I never want to put an item out there that I don't feel confident is the best item. that I can make.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've made adjustments over the years. Like you had it one way and then you're like, oh, I tried this at home and I made it a little bit better. So I'll try
Yeah.
incorporating that.
Yeah, and it's really transformed my home baking life too. Just learning, like working with so much dough and understanding like what makes or break dough, it's made me understand home baking a lot more, which has just made it enjoyable to like go home and have a more relaxing place to bake.
All right, taking a quick break from this episode to tell you about my course, Simple Sourdough. So I've been educating on sourdough since 2016 on my YouTube channel and on my blog. More recently, I took those years of resources, recipes, how-to instructions, and put them all into one course so that it's all compiled together. You can get it in one place and learn from the very basics. So if you are brand new and you want to learn how to do sourdough the simple way, or even if you want to improve your baking skills, you should check out my course, Simple Sourdough. It's all for a very affordable price. I wanted to get this information into kitchens all across the world. You can learn more and become a student at bit.ly/simple sourdough course. bit.ly/simple sourdough course, all one word, all lowercase. So have you started incorporating whole grains in the items you sell, or do you just reserve that mostly for your home baking now?
Yeah, so this is a question I have gotten before because I do have a blog that talks about fresh milled grains and I teach a class on fresh milled grains, but we don't offer fresh milled grains at our bakery. And I think this can be something that intimidates a lot of people who like to use fresh milled grains at home, but also love to bake and maybe want to sell something. The truth is it's very hard to have good profit margins when you're using fresh milled flour, especially because to get enough to sell, it's very hard to mill that amount of flour unless you get a large
Fresh,
mill.
yeah.
And certain items that we bake, like danishes and croissants, historically were not made with fresh milled grains. Even back,
Yeah.
they were being heavily sifted, that flour. So if you're looking, to find a flour to make those and you want it to be high quality, just make sure you're looking for unbleached, unbromated. I think, we're learning those words now. But at home, because I do love to bake and my child is obsessed with bread, like all my kids want to eat is bread. I find it very comforting that I can use fresh milled flour and know that they're getting nutrients, even though their diet is like 90% bread. So
Right.
I bake with fresh milled flour out of the joy of using it, not the fear of white flour. Like, I'm not afraid of white flour. I think it's a part of whole grains, it's just the sifted version. And I think it has its place in baking, and I think fresh milled flour has its place. I love muffins with fresh milled flour. I think they make better muffins. I think they make better quick breads, pancakes, waffles. I made lemon bars with it. It's so good. But then there's other items that I just think the addition and the innovation of commercially sifted flour has improved the quality of a baked good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
It's undeniable. I want my kids to grow up and think fondly back on my baking, like, oh, she made the best whole grain bread, even though I added a cup of white flour to it. That's preferable to me than them being like, I can't wait to get out of this house so I can buy white bread.
Good stuff.
Like, I want them to be like, I love the whole grain stuff, even if it means I add a little bit of my white flour to it. So
yeah, I'm kind of in that camp too, because there's like, just today I made some bagels and I did even 6 cups of freshly milled flour and only 2 cups of all purpose. It does just help it so much. And I'm like, I am willing to do that 25% in white flour just to make it so good. Like, those are good bagels. Like, I had my lunch today was bagel with cream cheese with fresh tomato from the garden, avocado, bacon, and like
that's like
everything seasoning. Those are good. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good summer lunch. And
yeah,
they're not just like, yeah, they're good for whole grain. Like, they're legitimately good.
I know. So if it could be like, if it's versus like, these bagels are okay versus these are the best bagels and they also have fresh milled flour in them, like, obviously you want to choose the one where your kids are getting some of the nutrients instead of none of it.
Yes, absolutely.
But then there
yeah,
are items
because that,
like, I really do think things that don't require gluten development, which is why, the white flour is adding. The white flour holds
the
most of
gluten,
the gluten. Yeah,
correct.
it holds most of the gluten development. So if you minimize the amount of white flour, you're just not going to get the opportunity to create that gluten development. Whereas if you supplement it with, some people use vital wheat gluten. I don't know if you've ever used that.
I have been hearing about this lately. People are like, you need to add vital wheat gluten, which I haven't looked into it enough to know like if there's any downsides to that rather than just adding like 25% white flour instead.
That's what I've kind of found is like, it's also a processed item, vital wheat gluten.
Yes. Yeah.
You can either add the vital wheat
gluten. You're kind of using that to get what you already intuitively realize that you're getting when you're baking. You're like, this is just not the same. But when I add a little bit, I get this. Yeah. We figured it out. Like, yes, you need that wheat gluten in there. Whereas like you're saying, things like cookies and scones and muffins, they're just as good with whole grain.
Because they
like,
don't want
you don't have to add any white flour.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's what I've learned through baking so much at the bakery is like, I think about recipes that I make in the bakery and I'm like, I bet this would be so good with the flavors of fresh milk flour. Or I bet this would be extra crumbly and flaky if I just use fresh milk flour. Like there's definitely things that, like pie crusts. I don't know if you make pie crust very often, but like we eat a lot of quiche for dinners and stuff. And that is such an easy recipe to have fresh milk flour. And we actually on our farm grow soft white wheat berries. And for so long,
do you?
Yeah, for so long we didn't use them because my mom always used hard white because she primarily was making bread. But because
and so then you just use it for everything.
So she just used it for everything. She bought it locally and she would just have like a 5-gallon tub of hard white.
Yep, that was me in the beginning. Like just hard white wheat, use it for everything. Yeah. But soft white, it actually even is so much better.
I love it. I make a lot of biscuits. And a lot of biscuits, a lot of pancakes, a lot of waffles, and a lot of muffins. And so I was like, I'm going to give soft wheat a try. And now it's my favorite type to use, mostly because that's just what I'm making. But I think it's milder in flavor.
Do you have any tips? Because I know that people are really interested right now. And I know we're mostly talking about like business and micro bakeries, but hey, we're on the subject. Yeah. So do you have any tips for substituting soft white, freshly milled flour for just an ordinary recipe that isn't designed to be whole grain?
Yeah. So I think understanding gluten development gives you a head start when you're switching over from regular flour to fresh milled. So just know gluten development is what creates structure within your baked goods. If you have too much gluten development in a scone, you're going to end up with a chewy, dense scone. If you don't have enough in a bread loaf, it's going to be a crumbly bread loaf that doesn't have any elasticity.
Yes.
So if you're picking the right recipes, like specifically for, let's say, I'm making biscuits, and you don't want your biscuit to be like bread. You want it to be flaky and kind of crumbly.
Yes.
I would gravitate more towards those kinds of recipes. And then also I do use an 120 gram weight. So I weigh my berries and then I grind them. I don't know if you do.
Oh, okay.
That has changed my life. Weighing the berries.
I have started, I don't weigh the berries, which that would be smart because then you know exactly what you're getting. So I just feed the starter with the rest of it. But I do in the last like several weeks weigh the amount. So if I have a recipe that calls for 3 cups of flour, I actually do 140 just because I don't do spoon and level. So that's what's in my head. But so if I have a recipe that calls for 3 cups of all-purpose flour for say cookies, I will take 140 times 3 and weigh it because I'm sure like you realize, and it took me forever to realize that when you put soft white wheat through a mill, it comes out so fluffy. And if you take a cup of it and you weigh it, it's like 80 grams. Like it's like nowhere near a cup.
Exactly. And that's why with the berries too, and you saying you use your extra to just feed your starter, but for me, I didn't like that every time I had to like mill it and then measure it and then put it in there. So I just measure all my berries and then I can mill it right into my recipe.
Oh, that's smart.
It has made it like,
Yeah.
to me, for some reason, it just clicked and it made it a lot easier to just, do that in my daily life.
Yeah.
And I always use the 120 gram, and that has just worked for me so far. And that's probably just coming from the recipes I've always used. I've used an 120 gram cup. But
Yeah.
I've just
Well, and
found
a
that
lot of
works best.
bloggers are using 120 as their metric because it usually does call for like spoon and level.
Yeah.
My blog, I had to be difficult and in the beginning realized that, oh, I don't ever spoon and level. And so I was just like taking a cup and measuring it and realizing that I always come up with 140.
Yeah.
So when I'm making a recipe from my own website,
Yeah.
I just will do 140. And I do find that like the cookies, for some reason, when I do 120 cup for cup, they always spread out. And so
Yeah.
if I'm using like somebody else's cookie
Yeah.
recipe, like I have some certain cookie I want to use, but
Well, I would
whatever
say
works
with
for you, I think the key is
cookies-
knowing about the weight.
Yeah, cookies, there's so many good tips out there for cookies specifically, like freezing your cookie dough already scooped.
Before.
Like scoop it onto a pan,
That
freeze
CS,
it,
that would help.
or even just putting it in the fridge for like an extended period of time. And also,
Yes. And I even say that on my blog and then don't do it.
Yeah, I know, because sometimes you just want cookies like right now.
You want them
Yeah.
now. Like I only ever make
I
cookies
know.
because we want cookies for dessert and it's already 5:30.
Yeah. What you should do with
But
your
yes.
daughters though is like make a big batch of cookie dough and scoop it onto a tray, freeze it, and then like have a little tub of like cookie scoops. And then you can just get
that
it
would
out.
be smart.
That's nice. Oh, but the other thing I was gonna say about cookies is that when you mill your flour, it comes out so warm that sometimes when you mix it with the butter and the sugar, it can kind of melt the butter, and you don't really want your butter to be melted in your cookies. You want it to be creamed and still a little bit cold or room temperature. That just helps it to keep its structure.
Okay.
So maybe,
yeah, that could be the reason is just it all stems back to me wanting to make cookies this second.
Yeah.
That's what it all stems back to.
That's a good tip for pie crust too, is chilling your flour because it is warm.
Okay.
Even just in the fridge for like 15 minutes.
Yes, that helps a ton. I mean, if you're in a huge hurry, do a little extra flour, but if you want a really good product, chill it and do the appropriate amount of flour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spoken from a baker. She's like, no, this is science, okay?
It's just what's worked for me, trying to get used to the fresh milk grains, because my son is a big cookie eater. He loves cookies and muffins. So
yeah, and you can get away with it. Like the other night with my kids, like my daughter usually is the baker and she just hadn't been baking in a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they wanted dessert. They really wanted dessert. And I was like, okay, I'll make cookies because she wasn't even home that night. And nobody said a word. Like, what? Are these some healthy cookies? Like they still just, they're all whole grain and nobody cares. Like they can't tell, you know?
Yeah.
It's still just so delicious. And so it's one of those places where if you're intimidated by whole grain baking, don't start with bread. That's the part that's hard. But like, yeah.
Yeah, because my sister, she can make a good whole grain loaf. But if you're someone who doesn't spend a lot of time making sourdough, like even if you make one loaf a week, sourdough, the concepts can change week to week. The temperature of your house, the humidity in the air. It just can be difficult to just start right away doing 100% whole wheat sourdough loaf. Like,
well, and I feel like I'm fairly good at baking because I bake so much, and still, like a sourdough boule that's whole grain 100% is not the same. It's just not.
And
like
she's had like one day where it was like the most beautiful. But even sometimes, I would probably never attempt that. Like I'm not that great with sourdough. But I did do a crusty artisan loaf with whole grains with yeast. And I will say that was definitely easier. It was the same concept of a sourdough. The yeast just kind of, it can really get through kind of the toughness of whole grains. So if you are wanting like a crunchy artisan loaf, and you're having trouble with maybe a sourdough one, that sometimes just doing a yeasted artisan loaf with whole grains can be an easier option. I know sometimes people forget that like you can have a crusty loaf that isn't sourdough. But
I never even remembered that. Yeah, I know. We never have yeast sitting around.
I know,
so
I'm a big yeast proponent. I love using instant yeast.
Well, I think one of the issues that happens with whole grain sourdough bread is that sometimes it takes a longer time to ferment, and then it gets a little, like the flavor can get too sour. And so I always have to accelerate it by putting it somewhere really, really warm. Otherwise, it's just way too sour. Anyways, okay, so on your website and your YouTube channel, which I'm not sure if you had the YouTube channel last time we chatted.
I've really just recently started, like I first wanted to have videos to supplement my blog posts, you know, like recipe videos. And then I did a day in the life and people seem to really like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll do. And so I've been doing week in the lives just when I can. So far I do one every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Just because I'm the one, you know, filming and editing. And so it's just overwhelming to me to do it every week. So I've just been doing one every 2 weeks for the past couple weeks. But people seem to have liked that. I had one student tell me, she like brought a notepad, and I told her, oh, you don't need to take notes during classes because I put everything on the blog. And she said, you say so many things that you don't know about that were helpful. So I take notes. And I was like, I bet if I filmed things, it would remind me. Like,
yes, it gives that hands-on application that you don't even think about that happen like while you're doing something.
Like things I do naturally, just out of habit. And so now I just feel like it's given me a better understanding of things that help us in the bakery and tips to give other bakers.
Yes. So for those who want to start a micro bakery, because I think there's a huge movement, like a local food movement that's been going on for a while, but it's still definitely going strong, and it's by no means oversaturated. Like I saw a sign out the other day driving where it said sourdough bread, but like I don't know of a place other than like a random little sign, you know, like there's like no place that's we could just go to. And so I think that's the case in a lot of small towns. And so I think there's huge opportunity for a stay-at-home mom to earn a little extra money if that's something that she's needing. And your YouTube channel, especially with like the week in the life, really shows the behind the scenes of that. So that could be very helpful. What is it called the Flour Barn then on YouTube?
Flour Barn Homestead. That's kind of what we call all of our like our blogs, the Flour Barn Homestead.
Yeah.
The social is the Flour Barn though. So like Instagram, Facebook. I used to do a Flour Barn Homestead specific Instagram, and then I just switched it to being combined with my business just because I felt like they were so intertwined that it just made sense to have them both be on there. So if you wanted to follow me on Instagram, it's the Flour Barn.
Awesome. Well, we will leave links down below. If you're intrigued, one, check out our last episode, because I think we went more into like how your business is actually structured. And then today we're talking more about, well, all kinds of stuff. I was going to say, we talked a ton about work-life balance and all this. Like we kind of did, but we mostly didn't. So check out the other episode, and then also check out your YouTube channel, which I think just seeing how it applies on a weekly basis as a mom, having a bakery is very helpful. So we will leave links to that below. Thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you.
Thanks, as always, for listening to the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. My husband, Luke, and I and our 8 kids work together side by side on our little homestead and use our blog, podcast, and YouTube channel to reach other homemakers, home cooks, and homesteaders with practical recipes in daily family life. For everyday sourdough recipes, make sure to check out our blog, farmhouseonboone.com. And to dig deeper, we do also offer a course called Simple Sourdough over at bit.ly/farmhouse sourdough course. That's all one word, bit.ly/farmhouse sourdough course. If you're looking to learn how we earn an income online, check out my YouTube course at bit.ly/farmhouse YouTube course, all one word.